Welcome to Stitchery Stories, where textile artists share their life in fabric and thread, inspiration, techniques, disasters and delights. And I'm Susan Weeks, enthusiastic embroiderer and textile art dabbler who also loves podcasting. So take a break and enjoy our light-hearted chat, and please share with your friends so they can enjoy it too. Hello. I'd like to start today by thanking those of you who've made a very kind donation to help support this podcast. I really appreciate your thoughtfulness, and I always send a thankful email, so if yours doesn't appear, then please go and check in your junk and spam folder. I'm not ignoring you. And thank you as ever for your lovely emails too. Such a lovely variety that I get from you all. And for those of you who are interested in creating an online course as an important business asset, then I can help you in 3 ways. Firstly, you can sign up for my free Crafty Online Course Creators Workbox, which has got 3 valuable resources to help you get your head around where to start. And as part of that, you will also receive my fortnightly Crafty Course Chat newsletter. And I also share some tips and information over on my Instagram channel, susan.l.weeks. So that's all free support. Secondly, I will be launching my online course at the end of May on how to create an online course, and I need to give it a good name yet. So keep your eyes peeled for details about that if you're interested, or of course if you know anybody who is, you could pass the information on. And then thirdly, and this is not just for online course creators, then I also offer one-to-one advice and mentoring. You can book me for a power hour, as we can call it, or a series of sessions tailored to what you need. So I can support and guide you in so many areas. So, for example, recent sessions have been around midlife career change and creative business, digital marketing, course creation and podcasting. Yep, so many things. You can gain access to my over 11 years experience running my online business, delivering a range of digital services, mentoring and training. And all the details you can get them on Stitchery Stories website for now, while I'm getting stuff created in the background, or of course DM me on Instagram or Facebook, wherever you know and can find me. And so let's dive in to this week's fabulous episode. Hello and welcome today to our lovely guest, Lorraine Turner. Hi, Lorraine.
Hi, Susan. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's brilliant to have you here. Yeah, so here I am dashing over the Atlantic again because Lorraine's in Florida and I'm not.
Yeah, it's warm here.
No. Right, so I have a little bio here from Lorraine, and then we'll crack on because we've got lots of exciting things to talk to you all about today. Right, so Lorraine Turner. My greatest passion is to express empathy and support for endangered animals by giving them a voice through my textile art. Each piece tells their stories and begins with meditation messages brought forward through my work as an animal communicator. And it's stitched with purpose and love. All of my work supports endangered animals worldwide. I am a free spirit fabric designer, Aurifil threads educator, and Bernina ambassador. Right, that's a brilliant nutshell there, Lorraine. So, and if if you're not aware of Lorraine, then I've got some pieces of her work are on her episode of Stitchery Stories, along with all of her links. But she does the most fabulous art on animals, based around, I suppose, in a nutshell, fabric collage, really, and embellished. And would you say quilting as well? Quilting comes in there?
Yes, there is some quilting involved. Yes, there is.
Yeah, so quite a crossover between the textile art and the kind of art quilt and fabric collage, and it's just all gorgeous. And I really envy your ability to make a horse out of all these different kind of pink flowery fabrics and make it look like a horse. If I did that, it would look like something made out of pink flowery fabric. I attempted a hedgehog once. Let's not go further than that.
Oh, okay.
So we can dig about that as well, because obviously I like to hear about techniques and so forth. Right. Okie dokie. Right then, Lorraine. So before we dig down into lots of exciting topics, would you like to share with us what you're working on at the moment and what's got you excited, Lorraine?
I am working on a piece that's going to be in an exhibition, and it is built in pieces. So I will do the background with a lot of different textiles, sheer organza, cheesecloth, dyed cheesecloth, and lace. Wonderful elements that can create, and it just gives it more interest. That's that's just the background.
That's the
And then
background. Wow.
that's just the background. And then all the handwork is all hand embroidered. And I bring that from, I always work like a painter, Susan. So I'm working background first.
Yeah.
And then I lay in all that handwork. It's a field. It's a beautiful field with flowers. And then I have a mother and a foal horse that is in the foreground, and they will be in fabric collage. So it's all different elements that come together.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just like, there's so many techniques going on in one place, and say you bring them in. These are quite large, the pieces that you do.
Yes, they are quite large. I'm the most comfortable, Susan, with like a 30 by 30, 36 by 30. I'm very, very comfortable with that. And most of my clients would prefer, I would say most of the sales have been framed art because they accept it as fine art. Whereas if I'm showing in a gallery and it's a quilt show or it's a fabric thing, they want it sleeve, they want a sleeve, they want hung sleeved. But for the most part, I'm most comfortable with doing, 36 by 30 and then frame it. So this piece is a little bit larger. A lot of the, like I said, the quilt shows, they prefer them. They want them larger than 36 by 36. I mean, they're starting to make more specifications for that size wise. So that's what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that's still quite a sizable piece of work then.
Yeah, it's a nice size.
Yeah, it is. And I was quite fascinated there about the things like lace and organza and all the rest of it at the back, whereas quite often we'd be tempted to put those at the front because, aren't they pretty and shiny and nice, and then there you are, putting them on the back and covering them up with a horse or something. So.
Well, it's all about layering. And I'm always, like I said, I'm thinking like a painter. So as I'm laying that, if you could imagine, if I'm laying down shears and organzas and fabric and cheesecloth, I'm laying that background down because I need the main attraction, which is the main characters of my story, the two horses. Yeah. I'm trying to set that. I'm trying to create a mood. I'm setting the mood for that. And that's how I approach it. And I just love, I can't tell you how much I love touching textiles. So I have so much fun. Yeah,
I know. It's great, isn't it? That's one thing wonderful. I really love. Say if you go to a show, I don't go very often, but you'll go to a big exhibit show. In those days when we could go to things like that.
Yeah.
And you come back with your haul of threads and and I tend to buy I suppose we all do, the things that you can't get easily. So I would get some really nice organzas or some hand-dyed threads and all the rest of it, and then you get them out and you just kind of sit there and just look at them, and B, kind of pick them up and kind of stroke them and then put them down, and then somebody will say, what are you going to do with those? I don't know, probably nothing actually. I'll just go to my collection of nice things I'll look at. They're too good to use.
My sister always says that. She's like, what are you going to do with that? And I'm like, it'll come to me.
Exactly. I will find it will find itself a home eventually.
That's right. Yeah. That's great.
Fabulous. And while we're talking about layering things up and fabrics and using the kind of collage technique, before I forget, so you have also got this lovely range of fabrics that you design. So do you use your designed fabrics in your pieces only, or as well as other things that you have kind of lying around? How does that work, Lorraine?
Well, as a new fabric designer, I bring out a line each year. And so my first collection came out in 2019. Right. And my second came out 2020. So if you think of it that way, you have 12 SKUs. So I have 12 patterns, and then I have 14 patterns the next year. So that leaves me that leaves me in my opinion, a very small palette to do the work that I'm doing.
Right. Yes.
And so I use it. If you really look at my work, you'll see I use a lot of Liberty of London. The last time I was in London, my husband told me I better bring another suitcase because he knew I was going to hit Liberty of London. And I did, Susan. I was back there 3 times. I was just because I have to buy it overseas. When you're in the store, it's so different.
Oh,
And
it's
I was
such a
like a
gorgeous
kid in a
store.
candy store. I was
Yeah.
just, oh my gosh. I went back 3 times, and I think they got to know me there because I bought so much. Yeah. So you'll see that in my work. I love to use tiny little prints.
Yeah, and it is beautiful for that, isn't it? And it's such just a totally wonderful store. They used to have one in York as well. York's about an hour and a half away from me. That was my hometown. I was born there, and they had a lovely store in York, but that got closed down quite a long time ago now, probably 20 years ago. But I used to love going in there, and I've still got some. In fact, some of their bags, the purple bag with Liberty on them,
Bags.
with stuff in it. So yeah, oh, that's brilliant. And the fabric is so smooth, and it feels so beautiful. The cottons and all of it, it's just it's lovely. And the Tanalon, that's it. I couldn't remember the name
my
of it.
fabric design. So if you look at my fabric line, and you can go to my website and see that, but when you look at my fabric line, pay attention to the fussy cutting, because I've created all of these elements in my fabrics so that people can fussy cut them and add them as appliques or purses and bags, and you can embroider around them. I mean, that's my intention. That's where my heart is, to always give back to animals. And you know that about me, as you mentioned. A portion of my royalties, even for my fabrics, goes back to nonprofits. Everything.
Right. Everything. Right. That's just brilliant. And we'll move on to that. So that's exciting. And then the other thing I spotted on your website, you've got a challenge on the go for based around a monarch butterfly as well. Is that how's that going?
Well, it's doing fabulous. It's a monarch butterfly pattern that I created. And the way it works is that, in order to kind of marry my fabrics are all about migration. The latest, they're in the stores right now, and they are available in the UK. But that fabric line is all about migrating animals. And so one of the migrating animals that is struggling due to pesticides and global warming is the monarch butterfly.
Yeah, and they go so far, don't they?
Oh, they go so far. They travel from Mexico way up top to the
it's amazing.
They cover a lot of ground. And so I wanted to create a sewing art challenge to get people involved that would learn, obviously, about my fabrics, but also to give back. And so 100% of the money collected for the pattern, which is 20 USD, goes, and it's a PDF download, so people from around the world can get involved. And that goes to the organization, 100% of it. Last year I did koalas. This year I'm doing monarch butterfly. So there's always something, Susan. I'm always, that's the heart of my work, really. I mean, that's me in a nutshell, so.
The animal side of things. Now, the thing I usually kind of move on to after we've got excited about what we're doing is kind of how you got into it all. Now, I noticed on your website, again, I mean, Lorraine's website is really great because it has videos on there, there's blog posts, there's different categories of blog posts, there's it's just really quite an inspiring artist website anyway. But there was a lovely little video on there which showed your journey in your video about how you'd first got inspired by white lions, and you were making like kind of felted white lions, and then you got into wet felting pictures, and so the evolution there I think is quite astounding. Do you want to just quickly go through how you evolved? And then the thing I want to dig into as well is this idea about the animals coming to you in meditation and sharing their stories and their messages. So that's an intrinsic part of your work. So if we can, that's where I want to go with this part, if that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds great. You can watch the video yourself so that you will understand what we're talking about. But in it, I describe my journey from the time I started putting my hands into this craft work, the handwork, up until what I'm doing today, presently. But as an artist, I've been an artist for 4 decades, a graphic designer. I've worked in the national sports team here in our country, and I've won Emmys. I won awards for my work. But in 2016, I began doing textile art, and it was really just taking that same approach, that same background I have, and applying it with a different medium. That's really what it is, Susan. I took everything I knew, and you know why I think I was able to do it so easily for myself was that there was no rules for me. I didn't have any
Mm.
rules. Nobody told me what I couldn't do, what I could do, what materials are acceptable. I didn't get any of that. I just went into my room and said, now let me see, how can I do this?
Oh,
And I
yeah.
just dug into it. And I started out with beading. I was fascinated. I was in South Africa and I saw this beaded work there. And I was like, you know what? I want to teach myself how to do that. And I did. I went,
Yeah.
I taught myself how to do that. And then I thought to myself, I really would like to make little felted figurines. How do you do that? And I did. So I just went into there's never been a thing, I can't do it. I just thought, if it's in my head and I can see it, I can do it. It's like, there's a will, there's a way.
Oh, what a fabulous attitude. Yeah, I love that. And I think what makes it really interesting, I love the contrast of things. So,
Mm.
graphic designer being involved with the sports team and
Mm-hmm.
cartoons I saw as well somewhere along the
Mm-hmm.
line. And then,
Comics, yeah.
here you are with gorgeous textile art supporting animals. It's like,
Mm.
what a journey that is in itself. But you you went through that evolution. So really, I suppose you've been employed in and around art, as you said, for a long time
Mm-hmm.
now. So this
Mm-hmm.
is the latest manifestation of
Mm-hmm.
using those artistic skills.
Yep.
And I think it was some other guest or somebody commented on. They said unencumbered by any knowledge, which I thought was a fabulous way of saying, do you
Mm.
know what? I just gave it a try.
Yeah. And I still do that today, Susan. It's like, is this going to work? How does this work? How do I make a mountain? I want to make a mountain out of silk. It's so, and that's really how I approach everything is I wonder if this is going to work. You have to try. You just have to try.
And that's it in a nutshell, isn't it? Really. So,
Mm-hmm, it is.
I could see in your little video there about how you evolved. What is it that's made you? How can I say this? Commercialize. It's the wrong way, but make the textile art as a practice, and then you've brought your fabrics into it, and your kind of webinars and all those sorts of things. What kind of drives? What's the driver behind those?
Well, whenever I do any project, I always take myself back, what I call the core of it. So I go back to the center, and I can literally, because I teach meditation and I use meditation in my work, by touching the solar plexus of my body, it brings me back to the core energy. What does that mean? It means Lorraine, what it boils down to, Lorraine, what in the world are you doing this for? Take
Yeah.
it back to the core. Why did you get involved in this? Because I'm not a person that, if you know me, I'm around animals. I can deal with animals. I'm an animal communicator. People are different. That's a different animal. People are different. Like we talked about herding cats, sometimes it's a little difficult. But I take it back to the core. Lorraine, why did you get involved in this? I did this because I have a heart to do this work. I did this because I believe that I am making a difference in some small part. And even if I create a piece of art and it doesn't sell for 3 years, 10 years, that is going to land somewhere. And I've seen my art. Like I said, I've only been doing this from 2016. Every single White Lion piece of art I've done has gone to support whitelions.org. I do not have one left, Susan. Everything's sold. Everything's gone. So it's not like I worry about, am I going to sell this? How many hours did I put into this? If you keep your focus, if you really keep your focus, and that's my passion with purpose, I have a passion. Doors open, doors close. That's just the way I create art for the sake of art. But my passion is to help endangered animals. And many people don't even know that. They don't even care that when they buy my fabrics, they don't care that I'm supporting Marine Animals Response Society, whales that are being cut from the nets. They don't take that into consideration. That's okay. I didn't do it. I didn't do it for their thank you. I'm doing it because this is my journey. And it happens to touch a lot of people. And the commercial size that you speak about, that just happened, Susan. Honestly, I didn't ask for it. Magazines started contacting me. I've been on television. I've been on public television. I've had 3 sessions I just recorded. I'm on local television right now, PBS. It's called Quilting Arts TV. And it's just all happened. I believe it's happened because between you and me, I think there's a little bit of the animals working behind the curtains. I think somebody's whispering in somebody's ears. But yeah, it's been successful because of that. I really do believe it's your heart. If you have a heart of giving, you can never outgive. Never outgive.
Yeah, and I think that's such a lovely sentiment, and I think that idea there that the animals are equally whispering in other people's ears. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a lovely thought. And
Mm-hmm.
but I think we find that in life, don't we? That if we give and we support, and it comes back to us in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah.
But it does come back, and that old "what goes around comes around" thing is it's what you put into things come back to you eventually. It might
They
be
do.
different, but they really do. So, and I think looking at your work and everything that you're doing, you can just see the passion. And again, it can be quite an overused word, can't it? That, but
Sure can. Sure
this is
can.
this is so true. This is a real. If anybody wants an example of somebody being passionate about what they're doing and putting their efforts into supporting, in your case, animals, then it just really comes out that way. And I think, to be honest, it's going to be attractive when you think, oh, do you know, I fancy buying some nice fabrics. Oh, do you know what? I'll go and have a look at Lorraine's because she's, they're supporting other, she's supporting other things as well. There is that purpose behind it as well, which I think is attractive from a purchasing point of view as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I know that I try to express that even with my fabric company. And it's I love my fabric company. They're very supportive. They constantly, and I always say this, they make me look good because I work with a dynamic team. But in as far as the nonprofit thing, basically they say it to the designer, me, well, you're on your own with that, because meaning that they don't want to give the impression that every sale that's made in a store goes to marine animals, but it does on my end, because every yard that's purchased is a yard that I get a royalty on. And a portion of my royalties will go back to help the animals. And I understand that. So I'm not trying to make it sound like every time you go into a shop, they're giving it. They're not. I am.
Yes.
That's okay. That's all right.
Yeah. And but that is also important, isn't it, for people to understand that sometimes people can therefore assume if somebody's doing a lot of work for charities and non-profits, etc., it can be misunderstood in some respects as well, and people think, but isn't this free? Or you're charging for that. I thought this was all kind of free. Or I thought it all went to so and so. So I think it can be very clear to kind of where things are and where they come from.
I think that's important because I have been approached by different organizations to give, and I am a giver. If you see my work, you'll know that I'm a giver. There's nothing. I mean, I was born a giver. My parents were givers. I come from a long line of givers. But that doesn't mean that I should be. Well, Lorraine, you have a really generous heart. Therefore, this should be for free. And I charge for webinars. I charge for my expertise. I went to college for what I learned. I've got 40 years of experience as an artist, a professional artist. And yes, I do charge, because the only way I can follow my passion is to have support. So it's not like I'm this rich person that, doesn't need anything. Of course, I've got bills to pay. I've got kids and grandkids, and, I have a life. But I think that there's a misconception there often with people that have a generous heart that they should be doing things for free. And you will never see me on YouTube giving free anything. You can sign up for a webinar and pay for a webinar knowing that I'm helping endangered animals. That's it in a nutshell. And I don't apologize for that. I'm not going to apologize.
No. And I like that, because I think there's too much emphasis on giving free this and free that, and webinars, the expectation is it's kind of free, and then there's something at the end where somebody pitches you an offer kind of thing, and before that everyone's promptly left. But I think doing art or demonstrations or teaching is different, and I think it's refreshing to see charging for a webinar. And I've seen a few people recently as well charging for, like, I'm doing a talk on Zoom and you can buy your tickets from here, whereas previously the expectation was, oh, well, if you're doing a talk on Zoom, it's free, isn't it? But then the people forget about, if you're doing a talk on Zoom, you've got to pay Zoom the webinar feature to do it, and none of this is free. and having a website costs money, and having a podcast costs money, and all of this. And so I'm really pleased. You can tell I'm getting excited now. I'm really pleased to see. I'm really pleased to see people charging for this sort of thing, because we've all got to eat, and we've all worked for a long time to develop the skills that we're selling.
Well, I started doing webinars because, and we haven't talked about this yet, but it was brought to me in meditation. It was brought to me in meditation that I needed to get involved with giving webinars. And so I searched and searched, and I found Zoom. And this was long before the pandemic. The animals are telling me, you need to do this, you need to do this. And so I think it was August before the pandemic that I started doing this. And that's when, Susan, Zoom actually, they had customer support. They're like, oh, hi, Lorraine, can I help you today? Now you're like 1,081 in line. You don't get any tech support. Good luck if you get a person, right?
And as I was laughingly saying, I've been using Zoom since it was invented in about 2014 or something. I forgot more about running Zoom than
and it's like and people say to me now, like, I tried to approach some fabric shops and said, hey, I'm teaching some webinars. I mean, I can't be around the world. People are asking me to teach all around the world. I teach around the world. But you know what? It'd be easier to do a webinar. And you know what they say to me? They're like, well, we don't know if our customers would accept that. Now they're contacting me, asking me for Zoom. I'm all zoomed out.
That is so true. That is so true. So interesting, because same thing with online, doing online. Oh, no, we don't want to do online. Oh, no, can't possibly learn online. Well, hey ho, here you are. You've all been doing it for a year now, and look what you did.
That's right. That's right. You didn't schlep your stuff all over. You didn't have to get a hotel. I mean, it's been good. It's
been a good side. Right. So the meditation side of things, let's dive into that, because it's obviously a very intrinsic part of you and your work. And I'm fascinated because I'm Mrs. Computer Programmer, and I don't think I've ever meditated in my life before. So it's really, really fascinating for me to dive into this. So tell us all about this meditating and the animals and speaking to you. And it's fascinating, Lorraine. I love it.
Oh, thank you, Susan. And I can say that you probably have meditated when you've been folding wash, or sometimes when you're driving in the car and you get to your destination and don't even remember driving. That's called alpha state. And it really is a daydreamy state. And that's where the meditation comes in for me. Now, I began meditating in 2009 because I'm a graphic designer that handles many, many projects, and my creative brain I couldn't shut it off, Susan. I needed to teach myself to stop thinking. Stop thinking, Lorraine.
Oh, I'm going to have to try this then, aren't I?
Oh,
I can't switch my head off.
Well, you think of chores, and you think of jobs, and you think of the bill that didn't get paid, whatever, and you're trying to shut it down. So I learned and taught myself to go into my space. I'll go into my bedroom for 15 minutes a day in total silence, no candles, music. I don't sit in a position. I just taught myself by seconds and then minutes, and now 15 minutes a day, twice a day. And I've been doing this since 2009. And what happens with that, Susan, is you clear away. Don't forget, we're all plugged in. You're plugged into technology. So to unplug, that means to noise, to phones, to trash men outside delivering taking the trash away. You have to learn to just block it all out. And that opens up the doors for more creativity, for problem solving. Your relationships are stronger because you're learning to tune in and tune out. When you're in an airport and someone's having a fight next to you, you can tune it out. When you go to motor vehicle, and you don't right now because of the pandemic, but when your number's called and you're hoping to get in and out of there and you're like 104 and they've just called number 9, you learn to be able to be more patient because you can tune out the stress and take yourself to a different place, whether it can be, through meditation, I've learned to be able to visualize different. I can put myself on a beach if I want to. Yeah. But the animals, what happened with this is I'm learning to meditate. I'm very happy and I'm all at peace and I'm feeling good. And I forgot to mention that I had insomnia, tremendous insomnia. And so the insomnia went away. I was able to sleep. I was able to stop thinking. And so animals started to come to me. And now it sounds kind of odd because I don't, it's not something I didn't go into meditation and say, hey, animals, come talk to me.
Come here. Yeah.
Yeah, come here. And I started to see, which was kind of amazing. I started to see fields, grass, landscape, terrain, all in calico fabrics. This was just calico fabrics. And then horses, wild horses running, covered in calico fabric. So they were real horses, snorting, pawing, but they were covered in fabric. And so when I came out of the meditation, this went on for months. I came out of the meditation, I looked up because I mentioned to my husband, we're in the publishing business, and he said, see if there's a book on calico horses. Maybe there's a child's book or something. That's a good name for a book.
Yeah.
And I went and I looked and I discovered that there were real horses called calico horses from the Calico Mountains in Nevada. And they get rounded up and they were in trouble. These animals were in trouble. And Susan, I flew out to Nevada and I interviewed the people that were dealing with these horses. I wrote a book and it started. That's how it started.
Wow.
And I have, I'm an author of 2 books, one on meditation and one that's called Calico Horses and the Patrick Trail, which to me, immediately I saw the correlation between kids separated from families through divorce and separation and the small animals, the little foals left on the field when they rounded up the horses. Yeah. And so it was a natural for me. And I've never written a book in my life, but through meditation, I was able to do this. So I really do. It's really at the center of all my work.
Yeah, it's really opened up those creative channels in a different way, hasn't it?
Well, every single piece that you see, except for there's a dragon. I didn't talk to a dragon, but every single piece that you've seen is an image brought to me through meditation. I don't have a I don't have this photographic memory. So when I'm finished with the meditation, I make some sketches and I jot some notes. I look for resource. I'm very, very fortunate to have a lot of animal wildlife ambassadors that have opened their portfolio and allowed me with permission to use those pictures of animals. Lovely. So I have a lovely group of people that are helping, nonprofits that are helping me. One of them does the covers of the National Geographic. I have a photographer that just said, you can have anything you want, Lorraine, because she sees my heart. She sees where it's going. Yeah. And so from there, I've created all those illustrations and textiles that you've seen with a purpose of giving back. That's what it's all about.
Right. That is so powerful. It really is. I'm quite gobsmacked, as we say.
You're ready to go. You're ready to go into a silent room, aren't you? You're going to go.
I am. In fact, the other day, there's only me and my son here. He's 16. He's at college today. Yay! He's gone back to college. And I think it was Saturday afternoon, and it was about 3:00 on Saturday afternoon. And I'd been bombing around all day in the house doing stuff, jobs and all the rest of it. And I thought, I'm really tired. And I went and sat in the front room in a chair. And just sat there and did nothing literally for half an hour. So possibly I was meditating at that point. I just totally shut down. And then he's running around the house going, Mum, he still does it when he's 16. Like most kids stop doing it, don't they? But no, Mum, where are you? I don't answer now. I just sit there. Anyway, comes in, Mum, what are you doing? I ain't doing anything. What? You're doing nothing? That's correct. Yes, I'm doing nothing. He couldn't believe it. I was just sat there. He said, but you just sat there. I know, I'm doing nothing. But
it feels good.
Yeah, I felt really refreshed after that. So I'm really going to go and try doing
this.
And
that's what we're talking about. And it can help you in different areas of your life. I've had so many emails, Susan, from people that are touched by that are trying it, that have followed me and picked up the book and are approaching it in their own lives, their own relationships, their own families. And I teach children. So it's anybody about over the age of 8 can understand how to really give themselves a personal timeout. That's really what it is. Just what you described, a personal timeout, because you're worth it. You're worthy. You need to value yourself.
Well, we do, don't we? And I thought that was lovely about, again, kind of extending your art practice and experience into those working with groups, working with children, and the other things that all kind of weave together, really, I suppose, to say, well, this is Lorraine and this is what Lorraine's doing.
I traveled to 9 states in 2014 to visit groups and organizations, Native American reservations, and I gave free art lessons. And the reason I did that is because I truly believe in my heart that the children are the future ambassadors of this planet, and to encourage them and to really give them. With the Native Americans, I couldn't just teach them art, Susan. I had to find donors and volunteers to give them art supplies, because when I left, I gave them this I gave them this lesson in art, but they had no paints, they had no pens, they had no papers. And so
Yeah.
I was fortunate to have people that came on board and said, well, we'll help you. And they delivered those supplies to the Native Americans. And so that's what it's about. Really, it's just about giving a young artist that lift. I'm so impassioned about children to let them know that they have a voice. They have a voice. And I was just thrilled to do
their
it.
attitudes towards the environment and animals, etc. Let's hope that they do a better job than what our generation's been doing.
It's funny. I've said that talk. I've many talks. I do inspirational speaking, and people always ask me about that. And I'm like, well, the adults have really screwed it up. I'm working with the kids. My focus is going towards them because they really are the future.
Yeah, fabulous. So obviously the animals themselves are inspirational. They're kind of coming to you. You're creating those pieces of work and then kind of spreading those out in different ways and formats through talks and fabric and all the rest of it. So you kind of mentioned there about techniques and so on, that you try things. What would you say is the key skill? There is a skill there, an artistic eye, a skill in combining. Say, and I was kind of laughing at the start. You make a horse in pink flowery fabric look really fabulous, like a horse. Is there a thing that you can explain to us how that works? Am I making sense?
Yeah, I do, because I get this. I really do get. I get caught, Susan, in the fact that some people can't do it or they can't see it, and I have to stop and remind myself that not everybody has that trained. I can't even say it's a trained background, because I had it when I went to art school, and I said, "Oh, this is why they call it this," because I just was doing it and didn't know there was a term for it. I didn't know.
Exactly.
I didn't know this was cross hatching. I'd already been doing it. That's my point. So when I look at this, in order to just make it as simple as possible, I always treat it like a kid in a big sandbox playing, and a kid with a big box of crayons with every color in it. And I'm just playing. I mean this sincerely. I really don't look at it so seriously. I don't take myself that seriously. And when I'm teaching a group, some of them, I've had women that are in tears, and I'll say, "What is the matter? What's going on?" And she's looking at everybody else's work, and she said, "I don't like my lion." I'm like, what's wrong with it? Well, I'm using the fabrics that everybody else is using. Then what kind of fabrics do you like? She goes, "Well, I like Aboriginal fabrics. I like Australian fabrics." Then make the lion with the fabrics you love. Seriously. That's not rocket science. And so I helped her. Soon enough, before you know it, she started in a different pathway, and she was very, very happy. So what makes your heart sing? That's what I have to go back to. What makes your heart sing? And that's why I can make a horse purple, green, pink. I can make a whale yellow. I can do whatever I want. It's because I'm just having fun. I'm not following any rules. There's shading. There's light. When you're doing work, there's shading, and there's what they call turning the form. There's all those technical terms if you want to get into that. But really, what I'm doing, Susan, is I'm trying to take all of these wonderful textiles that I've accumulated, and I can't get enough of them, and play. I'm playing with them. How do you make a horse's mane? I don't know. Maybe I'll use thread. Maybe I'll use felt. Maybe I'll use string today. Maybe I'll use lace. It's just whatever. I'm a very intuitive artist, and whatever I feel is going to create the mood I'm going for, and the vision that I see, and how happy I am, because I create art. Again, I don't take any commissions. I don't do that. I'm working to bring honor to this animal. I'm doing a portrait of an animal that came to me in meditation. And they may not have been blue or green or yellow when they appeared to me. They might have been in their natural form. But this makes me happy. And I know it's making a lot of people happy. And I'm enjoying it. That's what it is, Susan. When it's not fun anymore, I'm walking away. I'm done.
Do you know, that is such a fabulous answer. That's really great, because we're all absolutely dreadful, especially when we're all sat in a room all doing the same thing, and we all start, oh, hers is better than mine. Oh dear, this is going wrong, etc. And we just start beating ourselves up before we've even started half the time, don't we? So
yeah, don't look, just put blinders on. Just put blinders on.
Stop comparing ourselves with everybody
Yes.
else. Yeah.
Yes. I know it's hard to do for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even want to get started because they feel it's out of their comfort zone. But all I'm asking you to do, I'm trying to inspire you to try and reach back inside you when you were a child and there were no rules. No one told you which color in the crayon box to pick up. And you had fun.
Yeah, do you know, I'm going to go. I found I laughed at the start and said I started doing a hedgehog and it wasn't very good. And I found it the other day. It's in this box and all these fabrics that I totally forgot about because they're all there. This is all for doing my hedgehog. Do you know what? I have quite a long list of things that I need to go back to, but I'm really now determined to go back to my hedgehog and stop probably trying to make it look like a hedgehog and just see what happens. And I'm sure it will still look like a hedgehog, won't it, by the time I've done?
Too.
Yeah.
I think that, and I find that too, Susan, like if you're working with a photograph, and I tell my students this, a lot of times we're working from a photograph and we're doing it as a pattern for a fabric collage or an illustration. And there's no two alike in my classes, never. And the animal evolves. And I always do the eyes first because the eyes are the window to the soul. And I feel that they connect with the animal. It becomes more, they bond with the animal just by getting the eyes done. And then you'll see it. You'll walk around the room and you'll see that each one of them is connecting a different way to this animal. They're all using the same photo, but they have the freedom to just be themselves and express themselves. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to see.
Everyone will find that really, really encouraging to go back and try doing these collages and so forth. Right. Well, we could talk about this all day, of course, couldn't we? I say this is every single guest, and I always mean it every single time. But, let me think. So what would you say then, Lorraine? You've had lots of highlights. What's your kind of personal highlight with, what you're doing?
Boy, there's been a few from me now, but in 2016, I started just doing this art and trying to see what I could do to help animals. My first organization was whitelions.org. And then I started posting more, and people are saying, Lorraine, you should get a page. I'm like, what's a page? I didn't even know what a Facebook page is. Okay, I'll make a page. So I made a page, I started posting, and Lorraine, will you teach? Lorraine, will you teach? And so I attempted to teach here locally. And I'm here in Florida, and I got maybe 4 people, 5 people. Like people, I mean, seriously, they didn't know who I was, whatever. And so I'm getting ready now. Now I have a girl that's been following me in Italy, and she's like, Lorraine, if you ever come to Italy, we'd love to have you teach our group. And I'm like, well, I don't speak Italian. She goes, no problem. We'll have a translator. I was like, okay. So lo and behold, I find out my husband and I are going to Italy, and I say, hey, we're coming to Italy. She gets a huge group up. It's done. It's a done deal. And it's exciting for me. I'm teaching in Italy. Yay. So while this is happening, I get contacted by a magazine that wants to do a feature on me. And I was like, wow, a magazine wants to do a feature on me. How'd you hear about me? And then I get the call from Houston, Texas. Now, the International Quilt Festival in Texas, Houston, Texas, is the largest international quilt show in the world. Oh, I know nothing about this. I've never heard of them. And they contacted me, and they didn't say, we'd like you to put one piece in. They said, we'd like to feature you. And I am an unknown. I'm totally unknown.
Wow. At the biggest quilt. Yeah. And
the largest ever.
Not a quilter. Yeah. And I mean that in a nice way.
Seriously,
you know what I mean?
I'm not, you're absolutely right. You're not offending me because I had to say, who are you again? Who are you? And 26 pieces, Susan. I did 26 pieces for that show. And when I got there, they put me front and center in this huge show, my very first time ever even being in it, ever. And we would come down, Dean and I, my husband would come down, and I'm like, they put red dots on my art. What are these red dots? They were selling my art. I had 3 pieces sell before the door opened.
Oh, crikey.
It was just, so that is, I'd have to say, as far as a highlight is concerned, that was one of the greatest moments to see these people lining up for my autograph. That was the other thing. Line up for my autograph. Like, that's just, it's funny now, but.
Amazing though, isn't it? Yeah. How things just in inverted commas, fell into place. That is a hell of a highlight.
It
That
really is. And Free
wow.
Spirit Fabrics, I had an appointment with Free Spirit Fabrics, and they said, Lorraine, now who else are you meeting with today? What other fabric companies? And I said, none. They said, you don't have, I said, there is no plan B. I am a free spirit.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
And they signed me, and I started designing fabrics for Free Spirit.
Right.
And you'll always see that in my fabrics, Susan. You'll see that they will always be centered around the art that you see.
Yeah.
I will take that and jump off from there. It's always going to be that, and always giving back. So, yep, that's my highlight. I mean, I don't know. I'm a total, unknown, and I'm like, who are you again? So it was huge.
Well, and that's actually quite hilarious as well, isn't it? Really,
it really. It is, because other people are like, you don't know who they are. I'm like, no, sorry.
And you can hear the gnashing of teeth going on in the background. Who's she?
It's true, and that's why I always say to people, well, I didn't go looking for it, but I really truly believe if you have a giving heart, and if you are generous, if you're really truly generous and true to your path. I mean, I always have to go back, like I said to you, and say, now, Lorraine, why did you get yourself into this? And stop myself, because if it ever becomes somebody else, if I'm ever manipulated into doing something that someone else wants me to do, I have to stop and remember my boundaries and go back to my core.
Fabulous. Fabulous. I love that. So really, we were there saying, oh, there's some animals whispering in some ears. I think you've got the whole Noah's Ark whispering there, haven't you? You've got to have had it.
I do. I have Noah's Ark. I never thought of that. That's
there
a
you
good
are.
one.
Fabulous. Oh, dearie me. Oh, Lorraine, seriously, this has been so uplifting. It sounds like a really stupid thing to say, but it's just so uplifting to listen to you speaking about the thing that drives you to create the art and the things that you've achieved in 6 years? 6 years. Wow. Really, really uplifting, really, really inspiring. I just love everything about everything that you're doing. And thank you so much, Lorraine, for sharing just such a small glimpse of your world with us today. It's been fabulous.
Well, I appreciate being allowed to have a voice here. And I wanted to tell you how much I admire the work you're doing. And I see your heart, Susan, in your work. And you are inspirational. And I'm just so thrilled to be a part of that. That's why I love connecting with people that have that heart energy. It's just like kindred sisters. It's wonderful.
Oh, do you know, that's a lovely, lovely thing to say. Thank you. Especially when I just think, oh, well, deep at heart, I'm an old computer programmer, but actually that's just an old story, isn't it, really? So thank you, Lorraine. I really, really appreciate you saying that. Right. Well, before I burst into tears, because I'm English and we can't possibly talk about things like that, I think we'd better go. Everybody, just go. If you haven't followed Lorraine by now, go and follow Lorraine. Go and check out the images. I'll be sharing those. And everything will be on her episode of Stitchery Stories. And yes, just remember, Calico horses, the story of how that all started, because that's what she's called, Calico horses. So that's fabulous. Thank you, Lorraine. It's been just wonderful speaking to you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Susan. Thank you. That was wonderful.
If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, then please join the Stitchery Stories fan club so you can get an email when a new episode is released. It's a quick and easy way of listening and of keeping up with any news and information around this podcast. Please visit stitcherystories.com. Of course, you can listen to Stitchery Stories on plenty of podcast apps at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and plenty more besides. You can also ask your smart speaker to play Stitchery Stories podcast too. But wherever you listen, why not leave us a rating and a review to encourage other people to listen too? I very much appreciate you taking the time to do that for me. So that is the end of our Stitchery story for today. Keep stitching, keep smiling, and keep creating your very own Stitchery stories.